So, hi, I'm Gemma, and I'm terrible at baking cakes. The thing is, every cake I bake comes out looking like this, cracked. But I do nothing to change this because I feel kind of a kinship with these cakes. There's only one time I try and rectify the situation, and that is when people are coming to my house. That's when the icing comes out. And this reminds me of my life, because I spent most of my time walking around feeling comfortable at home, but as soon as other people come round, as soon as I leave the house, I'm there, not covering myself in icing sugar, but I am hiding with clothing, so I'm covering up my lesions. I've had psoriasis since the age of 5 or 6, so quite a long time. And in the last couple of years, I've started to focus a little bit more on the emotional aspects of living with the condition. And I realised that I'm not just hiding the physical symptoms, I've also spent almost my entire life hiding the emotional symptoms as well. And I've learned there are 2 words that are very, very dangerous when you're living with psoriasis, and that is, I'm fine. Because I'm not fine. But anytime anyone asks me that question, that's the answer I give. Your skin looks sore, you all right? I'm fine. My dermatologist, how are you doing? Fine. My parents, how are you doing? Fine. Always fine. No matter what state I'm in physically, no matter what emotional state I'm in, I'm always fine. This is my 7th birthday party. I'm fine. I have no idea what my parents were thinking giving me this, but it was the 80s. You can see it's a hot day, everyone else is wearing short sleeves. I don't know if this ensemble was my choice or my parents'. So I don't know when the hiding started and whether it was instigated by me or by my family. But I do know I started hiding emotionally about the same time. I remember very clearly being in bed, and I'm not sure why she used Vaseline, but my skin was burning hot and my mum was lathering me in Vaseline and it was trapping the heat in, and I remember getting very emotional about it. And then I remember noticing my mum being very emotional about it as well. And that's when I stopped telling my mum the truth. So I've been, during my lifetime, through quite a lot of specialists. Some of them approved, some of them less so. I've tried a lot of diets. Some of them work better than others. But as I've been focusing on my mental health, I'm not sure where she is, I employed a psychotherapist. And she's been incredible. She's made a massive difference to my life. My relationship with my kids is better. My relationship with myself is better, with my parents and my husband. But when I talked to her about the trauma of psoriasis, about the horrific strep flare I had 5 years ago, she kind of skims through that. I find it really hard to tell people what living through that was really like. So I took a little bit of an unconventional approach. I have a podcast about psoriasis, and I interviewed Russ, who's coming to talk to you after me, and he was telling me about poetry, how he uses poetry to help deal with some of the emotional stress of living with psoriasis. So alongside a psychotherapist, I employed a poet. Now this was very hard for me. Diagnosed with dyslexia, English at school was not a good subject. But what this really helped me with was trying to find the words to explain what I was going through, because I'm fine was embedded on my soul. It came out before my brain had even really registered the question. And if anyone asked for more detail, I just told them what I always told everyone. It's fine, it's just psoriasis. Oh, it's fine, as long as I put my creams on, it's fine, it's fine, it's fine, it's fine. Had no way of talking about it. And with her help, I wrote about my strep flare. So I apologise in advance because I'm about to subject you to the first poem I've ever written. Tiny blunted needle brushes dance across my skin, tickling my nerve endings, dreams of digging in. Soft drumming over my body, a pitter-patter of pain, endless humming insect wings driving me insane. I can't read this, I'm sorry. But I will leave it if anyone would like to read it. And the good thing is, I'm letting this emotion out. It's 32 years of pent-up emotional stress that I've pretended wasn't there. And even though you might think I'm sad right now, I'm not. I'm relieved because it's been locked in here. And every time I read this, I cry. I normally get to the end, so I'm not doing quite so well today. But I'm releasing a little bit more, and I think it's just so important that we all find somebody who we can talk to, somebody who we don't want advice sometimes, who just want to get that emotional stress out there. And what I'm really inspired by at the moment is psychodermatology. That was never a thing. I mean, the internet wasn't a thing when I was diagnosed with psoriasis, and I love the fact that now there's a much larger focus on the psychological aspects of living with psoriasis. So if you haven't looked into psychodermatology, I definitely recommend you Google that. And if you're like me and you live in the back end of nowhere, I recommend hiring a poet. So this was the last part of the poem. We stand here united, we know each other's pain. I stand here and share my truth. I don't want you to feel alone again. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Gemma. So next up, we have Russ, who's going to run through his experiences for you as well. Welcome to the stage, Russ.
Well, I don't quite know how to follow that. That was absolutely magnificent. I've got a lump in my throat. Stunned. Like, I spoke to Gemma about poetry, and today I was going to write a poem. And we spoke in the week because we do this little podcast together, and she said she was writing one, so I thought, I won't. Mine went in the bin. I'm glad it did. So now I'm here. I've got no speech, but I've got plenty to say. And I'll tell you what she really picked up on was the psychological impact of psoriasis. So I got off the train today at Charing Cross and looked at these big statues of heroes. And I remember Professor Griffiths saying to me, on every bus, if it's full, there'll be 5 people with psoriasis. And I looked at Nelson, and I looked at the Grand Old Duke of York, and I thought they probably had psoriasis too. There's a good chance of it. But we're stoic, and we don't say enough. We keep it within us, and we say things like what Gemma said. One of our treasurers said, it didn't mean much, I just got on with it. And we do that, we just get on with it. And it's time we've got to stop getting on with it. It's time we've got to look at it and say, no, we deserve better. We need better. The PSP that we did, I pushed very hard that day for psychological help to go further up the list. It got to number 5. I was delighted with that. So I've seen Professor Bundy, and without her, I wouldn't be stood here today, because I was going down and down and down. I was lost in a fog of booze. I wasn't proud of myself. I was a mess. But seeing her got me out of there. And today, from here, I'm going to Wembley. Fits in quite nicely. I'm going to see my football club. So hopefully City will win today, and I'll have a great day after I've spoke to you. The other thing that's really touched me as well is all the people who wrote for the 50 for 50. I think every single one of them is an absolute superstar. And I think they all deserve a round of applause from everybody here. Some of them stories are just astonishing. And they all have a theme, or nearly all have a theme. And it's something that's close to my heart as well. Is most of them are women. Most of the people on that picture that Dr. Young put up who did the PSP, the women. It was nice of her to show me in this shirt. I have got more than one shirt, by the way. And the same trousers and the same trainers. I got there and thought, oh my God, no. But it's virtually all women. Us men don't say enough. So I would urge you men who are out there, you start saying things too. Because otherwise, we're not going to learn. We're going to be the ones who are still hid away. We're going to be the ones who are still wearing the long sleeves. And it's the women who are leading the way. And it's up to us men to fight back as much as the women do as well. So we need you all to get involved at some point, to share your stories. And hopefully one day we will all feel a lot better, we'll be more open, and we'll be able to approach things with a smile on our face. Because that's all I want to do. I just want to smile. I want to do what my mates do. I want to go to the match. I want to live normally. I want to go for a few pints. I don't want to be anything special. I just want to be well. I just want to smile. That's all I've got to say. Thank you very much for having me.
Thanks very much to Russ. And now we've got our third and final participant for you, and that's Jess.
Hi. Excuse me, I'm a bit nervous, but bear with me. My name's Jess, as Dom said, and I have had psoriasis also for a very long time. I'm a speech and language therapist. I work for the NHS, and I moved from France to the UK when I was 8. I've had psoriasis for as long as I can remember. I think it started probably when I was about 3 years old. I've had plaque, guttate, pustular, inverse psoriasis, and I've also at times had psoriatic arthritis, although currently no symptoms of that. And as Gemma said, I spent a large portion of my life hiding my skin and not talking about the effect it had on me and ignoring and denying my feelings about it even to myself. At first, when I was little, it was only on my thumbs, and my parents worried that perhaps this was because I was sucking them and used to bandage my hands at night. Unsurprisingly, that trick didn't really work, and it continued to spread all over my body. Learning to write was really tough. My hands would bleed daily, and I couldn't straighten my hands because of the arthritis. I found it painful to walk, and after school, my mum used to peel my bloody socks off my feet to apply cream on them. It limited me in so many ways. I wasn't able to do handstands and cartwheels and use the monkey bars when I was a child, and my daily skiing routine took hours every day just to make me feel a little bit comfortable with myself. It also had a massive emotional impact on me, and I have a really, really strong memory of being kicked out of a hairdresser when I was 6 because the hairdresser thought that my psoriasis flakes in my hair were head lice. During this time, I went through all the treatments that I was offered. I tried steroids, did daily hospital trips for UVB, I did PUVA, and even had inpatient admissions to hospital to have dithronol applied to my skin. Nothing worked, and my psoriasis just kept getting worse until a point that I was covered to about 30-40% of my body. I don't have a lot of pictures from that time. I think, it was a time when we didn't quite document the progress of our skin quite as much, so I only have these really cute pictures of myself when I was younger. It got so bad that it covered my face, my scalp, my chest, my legs, my hands, my feet. And by this point, I was getting ready to start secondary school. And I think that's when the dermatologists decided to bring out the big guns. And I started my first course of immunosuppressants. I took cyclosporin and was lucky enough to spend 3 weeks at the La Roche-Posay treatment center in France, which is a treatment with water, with thermal water. And luckily, the combination of those 2 treatments worked, and I was psoriasis-free for the first time in my life. It was an incredible feeling, and it definitely made those awkward teenage years with a unibrow and terrible glasses and a bad haircut a little bit more bearable. Unfortunately, 3 years later, it started creeping up again. And as many of you will be familiar with, it starts with one small patch, and then somewhere else, and then slowly the plaques get bigger and bigger, and it keeps spreading. As before, it was really stubbornly resistant to treatment, and I tried everything again. I went through all the treatments, starting from the steroids to the UV and back onto the immunosuppressants. And unfortunately, this time, nothing worked. Even as I was on a cocktail of cyclosporin and methotrexate for quite a few years, and even that barely held it under control. It just kept getting worse. The next few years, I just kept trying everything that I could. I even went to the Dead Sea, but yeah, that was it. And I just felt more and more helpless and just had this incredible anxiety and fear that it would just keep getting worse and completely cover me, and I just felt completely out of control. In 2014, I went away to Asia for a few months, and that was a really big turning point for me. I spent my time doing yoga, doing Muay Thai. This is me with my Muay Thai instructors, the hardest thing I've ever done in my life, I think. And I was swimming, eating healthy Thai diet, and doing lots of relaxation, and my skin almost cleared up completely again. And that was the first time, I think, for me, it really sunk in how much emotional and nutritional factors had, for me, on my skin. The following years, unfortunately, my skin got worse again. The stress of London life and doing a master's degree I guess got the better of me. As I mentioned, I work as a speech and language therapist. I work with stroke patients on acute hospital wards, and my skin was so bad on my hands that I was no longer allowed to work because of infection control policies. Because I had so many fissures on my hand, I wasn't able to work with patients. That was a really low point for me. My skin kept getting worse, and I have, again, another memory of being in a yoga class and seeing my skin split in front of me, my skin peel off on my yoga mat, and I realized that I could no longer exercise. I couldn't go running, my feet hurt too much, and there was nothing that I could really do to help kind of relieve the stress that I was experiencing with psoriasis. It became overwhelming, and it started to affect everything that I did. I also developed a lot of avoidance behaviors, and having psoriasis on your hands, I don't know if you've experienced it, but I would get really anxious at the idea of meeting new people because I knew that I'd have to shake their hands. But being French, I have a good out from that. I play the French card, and I sometimes inappropriately go in to kiss people on the cheek just to avoid shaking people's hands. Whatever. I would rather just not have to touch anybody's hand, not have them feel my hands and see the look of recognition on their face as they realize something's not quite right with my skin. I'd rather just, play the French card and seem a bit inappropriate. It affected me in so many ways. It affected me in the way that I saw myself. It affected the way I dressed. It affected my sex life, my relationships, and my mental health. And as I said before, it was one of the lowest points in my life. One of my colleagues at work suggested that I go to the occupational health department at work to speak to one of the nurses there. She identified all these negative feelings that I was experiencing, anxiety, stress, and the guilt I felt for feeling that my problems weren't important enough or serious enough to warrant all this fuss. I think, as Gemma was saying, that I'm fine, it's just psoriasis, it's just a skin condition, it's fine. Why am I feeling like this? Why is this impacting me so much? She suggested that I try therapy and that I try a course of CBT, and that was the first time in my adult life that someone actually considered the emotional impact that this was having on me. I did a 6-week course of CBT to help me deal with my feelings around my skin, which was provided by the NHS, which is amazing, a free service, which was quite useful, but I feel didn't really delve into my issues around my skin enough. So after that, as Gemma did, I found a really wonderful psychotherapist, and that was a really big game changer for me. It allowed me to explore my emotional triggers, stresses, but also to be honest and open about the impact that psoriasis was having on my life. Living with a chronic condition is hard, and having psoriasis can take an incredible emotional toll. It makes you feel helpless, and it can be really all-consuming. If you've ever considered therapy, or if you've ever thought about that, I've really considered giving it a go. I've always wanted to try it. It took someone else telling me, giving me permission for me to finally do it. I really urge you to give it a go. Around this time, my boyfriend, this is a picture of my skin when it was pretty bad on the left, probably not at its worst, but this is the bottom of my foot, and this is how it is at the moment. So it's still there, but it's a lot better. Around this time, my boyfriend suggested that I look on Instagram, and he kind of said, there's communities of people out there, you might find something interesting. And I discovered an incredible community. I discovered Hannah Solito. I'm not sure if any of you have heard of her. She's written a book called Radiant with lots of advice on psoriasis care and diets, and that's something that I started to follow a little bit more. I created a new Instagram account, which is here, dedicated to the documentation of my skin. And that was a really big change for me, from going from not talking about it, completely covering my skin, to all of a sudden exposing very personal parts of my life to the internet, which is terrifying. I decided to change my diet, try gentle exercise, and slowly wean myself off steroids. The diet wasn't easy, and it was at times really restrictive, so I cut out gluten, dairy, nightshade vegetables, alcohol, caffeine, and a range of other foods. And after a few tough weeks of the diet and the steroid withdrawal, which was awful, which I had kind of a psoriasis flare all over my body and kind of dermatitis all over my face, my skin slowly started to improve, but I really feel like having that online community around me made it so much more bearable. I was able to share tips with people and just feel a lot more supported. And I definitely couldn't have done it alone, I don't think. After that and the steroid withdrawal, I started making my own skincare. So I've been making oils, creams, scrubs, and have even started a diploma in organic skincare formulation to help develop my skills a bit more, and so I can keep making creams for myself, but also for my friends and family. My skin still fluctuates now, as it always has. I'm definitely not completely clear, but my scalp is clear, my hands are clear now, which is unbelievable. I have a bit on my legs, my elbows and feet, but I don't really feel like it has such a limiting impact on me anymore. I don't follow a strict diet either at the moment, but I know that I can get my skin back under control with a therapy and with a bit of diet control. I generally, really what's the biggest impact for me is that I feel a lot more at peace with myself, and that's an amazing feeling. So I guess just in summary, I feel, the importance of community and having people you can relate to who have similar experiences to you is incredible. Diet, if you've not tried it or if you've considered it, there are some diets out there. It doesn't work for everyone, but it is worth thinking about things that you can change to help relieve your symptoms a little bit. And therapy, I really, really encourage you to delve a bit more into how you're feeling and how your psoriasis is affecting you emotionally. Thank you.